Alright, so even though the Hummer EV is an EV, I feel like this thing should come with a gas guzzler tax. I mean, just look at it. This thing is massive, and not only the size of it, it actually weighs over 9,000 pounds. It's fun, it's crazy, and it's fast, like really fast. It has something called a WTF mode, which stands for watts to freedom. Let's see what that freedom feels like. Left foot on the brake, floor it, and release. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds for something that weighs over 9,000 pounds. That's definitely freedom, all right? My name is Omar, and this is the GMC Hummer EV. Alright, so yeah, GMC claims a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds. I haven't hit better than 3.5, and I'm guessing that's because it's really cold outside, and that 3 seconds probably happens in the most optimal conditions. You've got 3 electric motors and a massive 212 kilowatt per hour Ultium battery that makes a total of 1,000 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. So yeah, no, it doesn't make 11,500 pound-feet of torque, as GM said when this thing first came out. GM was just being a little bit clever with that. Nonetheless, this thing is still insanely quick. It's what's being called a super truck. And it's super large too. Driving this thing around and parking this thing can be a little bit of a challenge. I mean, this is everything an EV shouldn't be, yet here we are. This is the perfect clapback for anybody that says that EVs are gutless and wimpy. Now, you may think that the Hummer EV gets like 200 something miles on a full charge, but you'd be wrong. On a full charge, its massive 2,923 pound battery pack will do a total of 329 miles. That's a little bit more than the Rivian R1T and the Ford F-150 Lightning. And yes, Tesla fans, I know the Cybertruck will do like 500 miles on a full charge and will hit 60 in like 2.9 seconds, but this is here and the Cybertruck isn't. And to be honest, I think the Cybertruck is really cool. I just think this is a little bit cooler. And this is a Hummer, so it's probably more capable than the Cybertruck. I've been driving this around for a week, and let me tell you, it attracts a lot of attention. So yeah, this thing is big, it's kind of foolish, it's expensive, and it defies everything an EV should be. That said, let me give you a quick tour of the Hummer EV, and then I'll get back out on the road and tell you whether or not if it's worth buying. Hit that thumbs up button and hit that red button that says subscribe, because I would love to be able to afford one of these one day. Please. All right, let's do this. All right, so let's kick it off with pricing so you know what you're working with. This is the Hummer EV Edition 1. It's fully loaded to show off all of its capabilities, including watts to freedom, crab walk, extract mode, 4-wheel steering, and much more. Basically, everything this has to offer. That said, the Edition 1 here starts at $112,595, and it's already sold out, so you can't get it. But soon enough, you'll have the choice of the Hummer EV3X starting at right under $100,000. Then you'll have the Hummer EV2X starting at right under $90,000. That will be available in late spring 2023. Then you'll have the entry-level Hummer EV2, which will start right under $80,000, and that will arrive in 2024. The EV3X is basically the same as the Edition 1 without it being the launch edition. It'll have everything including crab walk, extract mode, super cruise, watts to freedom, and all that. Now, once you get down to the EV2X, I believe it'll have crab walk and air suspension and a few other options as standard, but things like extract mode and super cruise will be extra. The entry-level EV2, it'll have a 2-motor setup, giving you a total of 250 miles of range, and I'm sure a lot of the things that I just mentioned will be optional. That said, as you know by now, this is an insanely insane vehicle. It's got a lot of cool features and party tricks, so let's check out the top 5 features before we check out the interior and the exterior. And of course, let's start off with crab walk. Now, I'm not sure how many people out there will actually use this feature as a necessity, but it is definitely a cool party trick. Basically, what this does is it allows the rear wheels and the front wheels to steer at the same angle at low speeds, allowing the Hummer EV to move diagonally. To activate crab walk, you just push and hold this button right here. As you're holding down this button, you'll see that a crab walk animation starts to load in this giant screen, and it looks awesome. Once it's loaded, you just turn the steering and the Hummer EV will stay pointed forward as it glides over to whichever direction you have the wheel turned. Now that is really, really cool. And the reason the Hummer EV can do this is because it has 4-wheel steering, meaning the rear wheels can turn in the opposite or same direction as the front wheels, allowing this to have an insanely tight turning radius, which comes in really handy because this thing is huge. Now, we already had a WTF moment in the beginning of this video, but yeah, let's talk about the other drive modes and the crazy animations that you have with them. You have normal mode here where it's just driving along on the moon. You have my mode where a bunch of drones pop out next to it. And then you have off-road where this thing looks like it's driving on Mars. You have terrain where it's driving on a volcano, I believe. And then you have tow and haul where this is actually pulling a rocket. That's pretty cool. But yeah, all these crazy cool graphics in the Hummer EV are made by the same game engine technology used by Epic Games for Fortnite called Unreal Engine. But to create all these graphics and animations, Hummer teamed up with a company named Perception, who also worked on the animations for the Iron Man suit in Marvel movies. So yeah, all the graphics and animations in this thing are completely next level and really cool. All right, let's move on to number 3. Now, even though this is an electric Hummer, it's still a real Hummer. The Hummer EV Edition 1 comes with an adaptive air suspension as standard, and you have a few levels that you can pick from. At the standard setting, you have an impressive 10 inches of ground clearance. Now, if you pop this into off-road mode, that ground clearance increases to 12 inches. And then if you're really about that off-road life, you can pop this into terrain mode and lift to extract mode, where the suspension increases around 6 inches, giving you a ground clearance of 16 inches, which is absolutely insane and you'll probably never need. Not to mention, this thing can ford through 3 feet of water, which might come in handy for the 1% that actually take this off-roading. Alright, so let's get into number 4, and that's Super Cruise. The Edition 1 here comes standard with Super Cruise, and I believe it will be standard on the 3X as well. Now, by now, you're probably familiar with this hands-free driving experience. It will basically take full control of the accelerator, the brakes, and the steering. The cool thing is that if you have your cruise speed set to 75 and someone pops in front of you going 65, Super Cruise will, when it's safe, automatically switch lanes and get back up to your set speed. That's pretty dope. Last but not least, let's talk Easter eggs because the Hummer EV has a ton of them. Now, by now, we all know about the moon themes going on in the Hummer EV, which makes sense because I honestly feel like I'm driving a moon rover when driving this thing around. You've got a map of the moon on the speakers right here, and if you look closely, you'll see a space boot footprint as well. And you'll also find 2 other footprints right here on the dash on the right side of the screen and the left side of the screen. And check this out, there's an outline of the Hummer EV right here next to the climate controls and another one right here on the windshield. But my favorite Easter eggs are right here in the infotainment system under the auxiliary page. Now, if you want to connect any add-ons to your Hummer EV, you can do that right here. And as you connect anything you want, you can assign it a name and a picture. And check this out, there's a picture of a Hummer EV driving over the Tesla Cybertruck. That's amazing. You also have a picture of a Hummer EV Asteroid taking out a T-Rex, the Ram TRX, and a Velociraptor, the Ford F-150 Raptor. And then you also have the Hummer EV doing a burnout on the T-Rex's face. That's so cool. All right, moving on. There are a lot of things going on inside the Hummer EV, so let's check out this interior starting off with the tech. Right here in the middle, you have this giant 13.4-inch touchscreen display, which is going to be standard across all trims. Now, we've already seen a bunch of the interesting parts of this infotainment, including the animations that happen when you switch through drive modes. But in terms of everyday livability aspects, just like new GM models, this whole system is Google-based, so you have Google Maps as your navigation system. You also have Google Assistant and the Google Play Store. Of course, when it comes to smartphone connectivity, you have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard. And then you have a whole off-road section where you can go in and get all the info you need, which, yeah, again, I'm pretty sure 99% of the people buying this will keep this on road. Now, in terms of performance, the system is a little glitchy. It hangs up here and there, but I'm pretty sure there will be over-the-air updates that will fix the performance issues this has. But it's not terrible once it starts up and you get going. Now, while we're in this section, let's talk about driver assist tech really quick. It has everything you can imagine, and you'll definitely need it while driving this around planet Earth. You've got blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, road sign recognition, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and lane tracing assist. And all that is cool, but since you have Super Cruise, you're good. You don't really need to worry yourself with anything else. By the way, I didn't know that Super Cruise does require an active subscription for you to use it. Now, when it comes to the camera game, this thing is loaded. You have a rear view camera, a 360 camera, you have multiple camera angles. Actually, you have 9 cameras in total. And that includes a front and rear underbody camera that you can actually clean if it gets dirty right from this big touchscreen display. You also have a camera so you can see what's in the bed. For me, it's those 2 giant spare tires. As for the digital gauge cluster display right here, it's very sharp and very crisp. It's got a lot of useful info right in front of you, and it's really well designed, of course, courtesy of Unreal Engine and Perception. You've got a couple of different viewing modes and pages you can customize this to, although you don't have a full screen map view. By the way, the 14-speaker Bose sound system in this sounds really, really good. Definitely one of GM's better systems. That said, how is this interior when it comes to overall comfort and convenience? It's actually really solid. I will say that for this price tag, it's not super high luxury quality that you would expect, and that could be due to the fact that this is off-road focused, so they've made it easier to clean. But yeah, in terms of overall comfort, it is very, very nice in here. These seats are very plush. You have 12-way power adjustable front seats with 4-way lumbar support. The front seats are heated and cooled, ventilated, don't go crazy, as standard, and you also get a heated steering wheel as standard to keep your hands warm. All right, so hop in the second row of the Hummer EV and you're working with 39 inches of legroom back here. I'm about 6 foot tall. That is my seating position up here. As you can see, I have plenty of room. It is very, very spacious back here. However, I will say that the seats themselves feel like jump seats that are kind of pointed up. Your knees are pointed up, so some people may not be a fan of that. Nonetheless, you do get heated seats back here as standard here on the first edition, so that's pretty solid. In terms of the roof game, the Hummer EV gets this infinity roof with these 4 transparent blue tinted panels. If you want a completely open top experience, you can remove these panels and you can remove the center bar right here for a max viewing experience. And the cool thing here is that you don't have to take these panels off and put them in your garage. You can take them with you. Once you take them all off, you can store them right here in this giant frunk with 11.3 cubic feet of capacity. That is pretty cool. So if it starts raining, you can just take out your panels from your frunk and put it right back on. All right, so let's get into the exterior design really quick. Not only is this a good looking electric pickup, this is a good looking truck, period. I don't care what anyone says, this looks better than the Tesla Cybertruck, the Rivian R1T, the Ford F-150 Lightning, and the Chevy Silverado EV. It has such a bold and tough presence, and it's actually much bigger than you think. Fitting this thing into a regular parking spot is definitely a challenge, but I'm totally okay with that. In fact, it's so big that you actually have marker lights on the front and the back, which is legally required for a vehicle of this size. Speaking of the lighting game, you have this giant light bar right here on the front with the Hummer EV lettering embedded right in them. Now this is your daytime running light. Your actual headlamps are underneath where they kind of look like fog lights. That said, this light bar is also your charging indicator. It'll switch over to a blue color when you're plugged in and charging, and it looks pretty cool. Now when it comes to the tires and the wheels, you're working with these giant 35-inch Goodyear Wrangler Territory multi-terrain tires that are wrapped in 18-inch black aluminum wheels. Which yeah, they will be a little noisy when you're driving this thing on regular roads. Swing over to the back and it looks pretty solid. This is one of the few pickups that looks really good from the back. You have a giant Hummer EV stamp right here on the tailgate. The Edition 1 here gets GMC's Multi-Pro tailgate, so you can open this in many different ways. And once you get it open, you're working with a 5.5 foot bed, and that's the only option that you can have. Of course, my test model here is also carrying these massive spare tires in the bed, so not only can I not use the bed, I'm sure these giant tires are probably hurting the range, just a little bit. All right, so before I give you my final thoughts on the Hummer EV, let me put in a few important daily ownership highlights that I'll have to show all of you. You have a total of 4 cup holders, 2 in the front right there for the front passengers, and then you have 2 in the back right here in the center armrest. Door close sound from the outside, and the inside, solid. Charging game-wise, in the front you have a USB-C and A port and a wireless charger right here. Those sitting in the back also have a USB-A and C port. Just found a household outlet right down there as well. And of course, let's do an indicator and a horn sound test. Indicator first. Now for the horn sound. So solid. Didn't expect anything less. All right, let's take this giant electric super truck for a spin. Now, when a vehicle of this popularity and head-turning capability comes out, it sells well above MSRP. The Edition 1 has been going for around $300,000. So yeah, I would wait a little before making the decision to buy it. But yeah, gone are the days when you used to make fun of pickups of this size getting like 2 miles per gallon. And the other reason we made fun of large trucks like these were the way they drove, but not here. Surprisingly enough, other than the extra large size of it, this is actually pretty livable. Keep it in normal mode and you can cruise around town in a comfortable manner, letting everyone know that you're compensating for something. And I feel like if this wasn't riding on these giant off-road tires, the ride would be even better. You can do everyday life things in here. Of course, just take out those 2 giant spare tires in the back so you have more room for cargo. I do wonder if those 2 giant tires in the back hurt my range. Speaking of which, this hangs onto its range really well. And that's very surprising to me because it's really cold outside here in the Northeast. Usually EVs will freak out and lose a lot of range when it's cold, and if you do things like use your heated or cooled seats, blast the heat or the air conditioning, and listen to some music, you know, everyday life things. I've had virtually no range anxiety while driving this around for the week, and by comparison, the GMC Sierra AT4 will do like 360 miles on a full tank of gas, while the Ram TRX will do like 396. So 329 miles on a full charge isn't too shabby. As far as if you should get one, there are a few things that I wasn't a fan of. First, at nighttime, this infotainment screen reflects off the back window. It can get a little annoying, especially with the two giant tires in the back. Second, the passenger side view mirror is super magnified and throws off your perception when you're just trying to switch lanes or park this giant thing. Lastly, the interior isn't bad. It's actually really well put together. I just expected a little bit more for $113,000. Now, I get this has an off-road nature to it, so it's built to be easier to clean, but I highly doubt that any Hummer EV owner will ever take their $113,000 truck off-road. But honestly, all that is just minor to me, considering this thing is so freaking awesome. Yes, it's a bit offensive, it's ridiculously large, and it's insane, but that's what a Hummer has always been. Not to mention, this is the coolest thing to happen to the EV segment in quite some time. 1,000 horsepower crab-walking Watts to Freedom pickup truck is not what the EV world wanted, but it's definitely what we needed to show ourselves that we can live without the soul of a gas-guzzling V8 and still enjoy the hell out of ourselves. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace. I need to feel what freedom feels like one more time. Double tap the traction button. My butt vibrates. I hit continue. Vehicle is lowering. Watts to Freedom armed. Left foot on the brake, floor it. Release brake. Oh my God. I love it. That is such a good feeling. By the way, this thing maxes out at 106 miles an hour, so that's all freedom will allow you.